Krissy, welcome to the Group X podcast. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you, Tony. I feel like as a longtime listener, no, but I am very excited to be on here.
Mate, thank you, and good to have you here. So let's kick it off. One word that describes you.
Phew. The first thing that comes to my mind is probably what other people might describe me. But if I was going to describe myself, I'd probably say empathetic. Very empathetic.
Okay, I like that. Different to what I've had so far with the others, but let's roll with that and see where this comes, where it goes to with this chat. Also, the other question I want to ask you is the last person you texted, and what did it say?
Can I cheat on my phone?
Yeah.
Look at this? Probably something to maybe do with my injury. Yes. The last person. So I've got an amazing instructor. She's doing her day 3 body pump in a couple weeks, and so she's been teaming with me in my body pump classes. But as I'm injured now, the chat about who and how she's going to teach the next week.
Brilliant, love it. Thank you for sharing that as well. I appreciate it. Like one day I'm going to catch someone out that's going to be something so raunchy that
I know. Well, that's what I was like. Go through.
I get people to know. Don't choose the first one. Maybe choose the second one.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get in there. How did you get into the fitness industry? Where does your journey kickstart?
Yes. So I do get asked this a bit because of my full-time job, and then obviously a job as a GFI. But I think many people that have been on the show and other instructors as well, I came from a very athletic background. I should first start, if you can't pick up from the accent, I am from America. And so in America, it's very common to start sports at a very, very young age. And I played, or I was involved in sports all the way through university. So I was fortunate enough that I had coaches and discipline and teammates, and it was very structured. Every day of the week, minus a rest day here and there, I had something to do. And then I got into graduate school, and I think that's when things started to shift a little bit. Obviously, I've always enjoyed working out and exercising and being around people, but there's a big shift when you have someone who says you need to be here at this time. There's a program for you. And you've got a group of people who are all doing it at the same time as you. When you remove that, even though I have the certifications, the trainings, the education to know the benefits of resistance training. So I've got my PhD in exercise physiology. So I know the importance of resistance training and aerobic training and all of that. But when you are the one that has to set the alarm and the rules and say, this is what you need to do, and you have to push yourself this hard, I actually found it really, really difficult to do that. And so I remember my very first, I think my first class to ever attend was a body pump class. And then I didn't actually go to any group exercise classes until I was in my 22, 23, which is when I was starting my master's program. So I wasn't into it at all. I actually thought that's not for me. I'm an athlete. I want to train, hard and compete. But I thought, okay, maybe let's just give it a try. And that's when I did a combat class, and I was like, this music is great. This is fun. But I still wasn't sold into it. And then again, in grad school, was realizing that, I'm broke. I don't have any money. And our lab was adjacent to our university recreational center. So I was going there in the lunch breaks and things like that and doing, a bit of time on the elliptical or whatever. But there was a spin class that would go on at 12 o'clock or 12:30. It was the afternoon. I thought, I can do that. I know all the science behind exercise. At the time too, I also I trained and ran in marathons. I did road cycling. So I was like, this is easy. You just get people to do that sort of thing. So that's essentially how I got started. Was one, I needed a bit more discipline because I lost that coming off of being in a sponsored sport or an athlete. And then also because I needed money, and the fact that I could go early mornings before data collection started. I could teach a class in the afternoon instead of taking a lunch break. Or at 6 p.m., I could leave the lab and go straight to the gym and teach a class. It just really worked with my schedule.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of how it started. And that
Love
was,
hearing.
many years ago.
I love hearing all that because it's unique. It's your story. Yeah, it's so different to anything that I've chatted to the guys here about. But yes, as in we get it from that young age. But can you tell me a little bit more about America? I've been fascinated with America for years and years and years. Whereabouts were you? Where did you grow up in America?
Yeah, so I was actually born in Southern California, so a suburb just outside of Los Angeles, where a lot of the Les Mills instructors were at not too long ago. I had a bit of FOMO. I was missing out. That's being so close to where I was born. But when I was 5 years old, we moved to Texas. So when I get told where'd you grow up, I usually say North Texas, so the Dallas Fort Worth area, because that's where from the age of 5 up until my third year of high school. So when I was a junior in high school, I ended up moving again. But that's kind of where I started school. I started sports. I had created all my first sort of friendships and that sort of thing. That's where I really grew up in Texas. But then also from there, I then spent 2 years. I finished high school in Connecticut and then came back to the Midwest area. So then I was in Oklahoma at the University of Oklahoma. So I was there for 9 years. So between Oklahoma and Texas, I spent just over 20 years. So that's kind of
Wow.
where I feel like that's my home.
Yeah.
But then again, I was so fortunate with my work and jobs and kind of just being a bit adventurous. Then when I graduated from Oklahoma, I took a job in Georgia. So then moved to the very south. It's a whole other world down there. And then before I moved to Australia, I was living in Idaho, so in the Mountain West area.
Wow.
So I've kind of explored and had the opportunity to live in quite a few different places in the
Yeah.
US.
What's new in fitness? The Australian fitness industry news and commercial gym equipment suppliers website designed to provide fitness industry professionals with knowledge and information to make better informed business decisions. What are the gyms like in America compared to here?
Yeah. Oh, I tell you what, yes, it was a culture shock coming from America to Australia just for, the environment and people, but the gyms was a whole other thing. And you would think that maybe because, well, we teach the same programs and you would say we're very similar. We speak the same language where it's not like I'm moving to a completely foreign, but it's so different. So different. For one, it's gyms are usually quite small. I suppose if you live in a massive city like LA or New York, you might have a slightly different exposure. But for most instructors like myself, you're teaching at gyms that they're not big box corporation gyms. They're like a one-off. Or the biggest gym group that I worked for was in Idaho, and I believe we had 4 or 5, but that actually went through 3 different suburbs or 3 different towns or cities,
Yeah.
is what we call them in the US.
Yeah.
And a big class for where I used to teach would be 20 to 30 people, and you're not going to get international presenters or people that you see on the masterclass videos, or you're not going to get the people that are ambassadors to Les Mills and that sort of thing. So it's a great, I absolutely love teaching for the gyms that I taught in the US, but it is very different. And then also there are so many different programs, not just Les Mills. So yes, Les Mills is popular,
Yep.
but there are, when I first started, I didn't actually get trained in Les Mills. That was not my first introduction into being an instructor.
Cool. Yep.
I was freestyle.
Yep.
And I would go to the bigger conventions that they do, and you go to like a cycle class or a HIIT class or a kettlebell class or a boot camp class, and you just learn all of these cool tips and tricks and ways to put a class together, and then you put a class together. And it probably wasn't until maybe a year and a half after just being a group fitness instructor and teaching freestyle that I actually trained in Les Mills.
Yep.
And so I still can. I don't really teach freestyle anymore. I just kind of became lazy, and I like it when I have choreography notes.
Yes.
Here you go.
No,
Learn
look,
that.
here in Australia as well, we are, it's I think it's close to 80 or 90% dominant Les Mills wherever you go.
Yes.
Les Mills is very, very program dominant on a lot of timetables here. The freestyle instructors are few and far between, and the
Mm-hmm.
ones that are out there are amazing. They still have an amazing skill set, which is why they've been able to differentiate themselves in their offering. But as you said, though, a lot of instructors, and I hate saying it because I don't think, I hope instructors aren't thinking that I'm picking on them when I say this, but we got lazy. Yeah. If someone else can do it for us, well, hello. I just need to
Yes.
repeat what they're saying and I can get out there and do it. We've got to still obviously put our own flair and our own flavor into what we're
Mm-hmm.
doing and make sure that we're delivering it in a safe environment as well.
Yes.
But I think the big thing you touched on there was I, I think I have an issue with the word freestyle, and I think that's something that's just come to light for me recently. While it's freestyle, as in you're not just making it up on the spot, it is still choreographed. Yeah,
Yes.
it's 100% choreographed compared to something that is pre-choreographed for you already. You still have to make it up. So, choreography or pre-choreography, it's still all there. It's not, as I saw someone post the other day on social media, freestyle, they just make it up on the spot. I was like, well, what decade are you coming
No.
from? Like,
Yeah.
that may have happened in the 80s or maybe the
Yeah.
early 90s, but definitely not these days. If you're a freestyle instructor, you're still making the choreo up. It's not in your head. You're
Mm-mm.
designing it, you're doing it all, you're making sure it's going to be effectively delivered as you go as well.
Yes.
So,
It's really hard too.
yeah,
Really hard. When I get
100%.
asked to step in, and thankfully now it's usually just like a hit class. So I still plan it all, and I've got all my notebooks, and but I don't have to think, okay, it's got to be set to music, because I have done that in the past.
Yep.
I have had to do aerobic type classes, and it is hard. And so, yeah, I joke about it being, I've taken the lazy option, and it's not lazy in the sense of there's a lot of work that goes into learning
100%. Yes.
choreography that's
Yeah.
given to you.
Yeah.
But again, I think there's so much to be said about those that can create their own classes and their formats. It's
Yeah.
impressive.
100%. Hey, cast your mind back to the first ever group exercise class you taught.
Yes.
Yep. Cast your mind back. Throw it all the way back to where.
Yes.
Yep. How was it? How was that experience for you? And what sort of class did you teach?
So the first one I did was a spin class or cycle class. I'm going to be honest with you, Tony. I'm pretty sure I probably thought I was the shit. Like, I know how to do this. I'm great. And a lot of that comes from, in addition to being an athlete, like playing sports, organized sports growing up, I was in theater arts. I was a competitive cheerleader. I did dance in Texas. When you dance for the school, the high school, it's drill team. So not only did I, growing up, I was in company, but then I was in drill team. So I'm used to, like, I have no problem. All eyes on me. Let's go for it, and let's make it a good time.
Yep.
I probably thought I was, and it's one of those, like, I would hate to watch myself. It's worse than not having to watch, yourself now when you self-assess. But I can only imagine how bad my first class was. And probably just because I was teaching it for me. And I think I actually did that for, it's kind of embarrassing, but probably several years.
Yeah.
And, where I taught, even when I was doing Les Mills, I taught for me. So how I was coaching, what I was saying, the options I was showing or not showing, it was based on my workout.
Yeah.
And because I thought, this is great, I'm getting paid to work out, is how my mindset, which is not great. And so I have a feeling, I was not nervous at all. Which is, it's so different. It's a complete 180. I get nervous. I'm more nervous now teaching than I was back then. But because again, I was a bit, I hate to say it, but a bit self-centered on that, as in, I'm the expert. I know what I'm doing. You'll follow along. I've seen some of the other classes that have gone on. I'm bubbly and energetic, and I'll be fun. And probably didn't teach anything other than just me singing on a mic. Just bad.
No, look, you're not alone. Yeah, I will be honest here and throw it out and say, I think more than 50% of the instructors that are out there are still teaching for them. Yeah,
Mhm.
they haven't gotten to that stage yet where they are teaching for the members or teaching for the club or teaching for anybody else apart from them. Yeah, they haven't got to that stage of realizing, shit, this isn't about me. This is about the people that are in front of me or why I'm actually here. Yeah, you can occasionally throw it in there and make it a little bit about you. And yeah, great, have a bit of fun and bring your passion and you and your personality in there. But I think most of us have been through that stage. And I think it was when, for me personally, when I realized one day that it wasn't about me, is when class numbers started to increase. The attitude, I left at the door. I left before I even walked into the gym. I got in there and I connected with the people that were there in front of me. I got to know them more than just, yeah, that was awesome, thanks.
Mhm.
There was, how are you? You know, what's going on in your life at the moment? Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, cool. We're in here. We're doing this. Cool. Oh, you've had an injury. Okay. I'm going to give you some options or whatever it may be. And not going in there with the full on high intensity options to start off with. Yeah. Because it's not about me. I'm not here to smash myself.
Mhm.
It's about, okay, who's in front of me? Who am I teaching to? The majority of my members that are coming in are deconditioned. They're not athletes. Let's teach to them at their level and then give those that want that little bit more, hey guys, this is the option, go up, not go down. Yeah. And I think
Yep.
that's one thing that I'm finding more and more instructors are talking about these days. And more
Mhm.
and more instructors are starting to realize, hang on a second, even with Les Mills stuff, you know, we can't always give people that full on high option and here's the lower version. Let's start with the lower version and add on so it goes the opposite way. Yeah. We start getting
Yes.
more and more people engaged in what we're doing, people happier.
Yes. And 100%, because again, I would go in, probably couldn't even tell you what, 90% of the people out in front of me were, because I didn't care. I mean, I did what I needed to do, and I'm sure I put on a bit of a show, and it was fun and it was great, and I had people coming back. But I go into it completely different, as you said. There are sometimes I remember, even not too long ago, it was probably about 6, 7 months ago, and I was covering an attack class with two people, and then I think one more person showed up. I was covering it, so I'd never met any of these. They were beautiful women, right? I could tell right off the bat from track two, they're not going for any high option.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to do a tuck jump.
Yep.
Unlikely they're going to do a burpee.
Yep.
So I went back, and again, I think it just takes a bit of time and confidence in what you're doing. But the whole time I thought, well, I'm not even going to show that and then show a regression to it.
Yeah.
So I'll show what the regression is as the base move, I guess,
Yeah.
if you want to think it that way,
Yep.
and then say, here, go to that. Whereas I'll teach a Sunday morning at one of our gyms with, a bunch of crazies, and they're like, this is all? Like, there's no
Yes.
tuck jump, backflip.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not in the notes today. They
Yeah.
want more, so
Yeah.
it's again, and that's something that I know for sure I did not do for several years
Yeah.
of teaching.
This is the Group X podcast.
Yeah. But I think that also, as you said, it comes with experience. It comes with reading the room. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the first warm-up track, as you're going through it, or you can tell, okay, yeah, such and such over there's got an issue, and oh wow, what was that? That was a bit strange. You can keep on top of that kind of stuff, and don't just go in there. Nobody expects, I think these days especially, nobody expects an instructor to walk in and be giving the high options. Yeah, I read on a poster today that in most cases we're probably the fittest person in the room. Yeah, the instructor, the group exercise instructor that walks in is probably the fittest person in that space. And the class isn't about us. The class is always about everybody that's in there. From that person that's walked in that, hello, has had 2 hip replacements, to, Joe that's over in the corner there that wants to smash herself because this is her 1 hour and she expects it to be high intensity because that's her way of de-stressing. We've got to go that entire scale to make sure we cater for absolutely everyone. It was interesting, as I said, that post that I read today where they believe that Les Mills is saying, no, you must go in at this high intensity level and show all the low options. Now, I don't know if that's the case with the training modules, if they've changed that much. I'm going to say I highly doubt it. But when we're looking at inclusivity and we're looking to try and get everybody that's in there, as instructors, you teach to who's in front of you. It's a guide. What you learn at training module is a guide on, hey, this is how we want this thing delivered. But let's be realistic. We've got to use our own feel, thought, brain, you know, whatever the word is to use there, to go, hey, no, I can't teach in that way because of, as you said, there was 2 or 3 people in front of you. You have to teach to them, make sure it's going to land.
Yeah, it's a great lesson to learn at any point. I remember I did AIM 1, I believe it was, AIM 1 for Body Attack with Steve Clough. It was right after I moved to Australia. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I can't, you know, you just don't get that sort of thing in America. It's very hard to sort of, you know, get really any big name or what we would call big name, you know, for training. But I remember specifically in that one, he was saying and really highlighting that it's not just showing a low option for 4 counts and then moving on.
Yeah.
He said, no, you do it for 2 counts of 8 or, you know, 16 or whatever, so that people actually know that it's not just that here if you need it, but it's a good option, and it might be the best option for 5 people in your class today, 10 people in your class today, and it should never be felt as if they're taking an easy way out of it and saying, if you want something easier, I'll never ever say that in my class. Again, I'm sure I did, gosh knows, you know, what I did in the past, but I'm very aware of the language that I use. And, you know, I teach even at the university, I teach a class, a unit where we talk about the language that we use. And, you know, a lot of what we say is relative to everyone. So what is high intensity for me right now, being held together by bandages, is not high intensity for somebody else. So just to say easier or harder, that doesn't help anyone. When you can say terms and use things, you know, for less impact or to challenge yourself, you know, it's just a small twist on a word, but it makes such a difference. And speaking on that, you know, even with just a recent post you made about fitness and exercise, I think people or at least can, I guess, not realize the impact that a single word or a term can make, and just putting a bit more consciousness behind that term can really change one's mind in the gym.
Completely. That the post that I put up on the weekend about is it group exercise, is it group fitness, you know, was the response that I've had from that has been phenomenal. It's got people thinking. It's got really people open up their minds to, you know, they're just words, but what are the meanings behind those words? You know, is there a right or wrong? No, there's no right or wrong. You know, it's just, in my personal opinion, I believe that the industry should still call it group exercise, not group fitness, for the reasons that I outlined in that article as well. But there's been a lot of people that have looked at it and taken bits and pieces out of that and delved into those even more to I suppose, you know, look at how things are perceived in the industry. You know, it's, as you're saying, the words are so powerful with everything. So, hey, programs that you're trained in then, which programs are you trained in?
Let me dust off the list. No, I'm just kidding. I'm currently trained in 7. Well, we'll see if I get upskilled, because I'm trained in Shabam at the moment, but with the shift to Les Mills stance, kind of up in the air on how that will work. So we'll put that one off to the side. So I've got body pump, body attack, core, jam, RPM, and sprint. Sprint's my newest one. Just added that one last weekend, I think.
Congrats.
Only a week certified.
What release are we up to in sprint? I started on sprint 2. Training.
Yep. So 30.
Holy wow.
32 is the one that they just are launched in this quarter.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's been a while. I need to get back on the bike.
Yes.
Do some classes again. Yeah. Now the hips are working, I'll work on that. Now, we're not meant to have a favorite. You've got 6 of them. Do they all tick different boxes, or do you have a favorite?
Definitely they tick different boxes, but I will say body jam there's many reasons why it's my favorite. It's the hardest one for me to teach. It's the hardest one for me to learn choreography for. And that's saying something from, you know, I grew up as a dancer and learning choreography, and I will say that I'm very lucky the way that my brain works. I do pick up things very, very quickly. And people say, well, how can you teach all those classes? And I actually do teach all of them, well, except for sprint, just being certified, but I teach those regularly. And I'm lucky that I have a memory, and I'm sure people are like, gosh, that's annoying. Bragging about my memory, but I do. I have a memory that picks up things. But
Yep.
jam is a constant, it keeps me on my toes.
Yeah.
It changes with every release, obviously. Every program does, but jam for sure. And it's a tough one, but when it clicks,
Yep.
when you get it as the instructor and you can teach it in a way that those in front of you pick it up,
Yeah.
it's the best thing in the world. And I will say what Gandalf has done is pure magic. I can watch his masterclass. It's like watching a movie.
Yeah.
Really, like he puts on a performance, and one could only like ever hope to get to like a percentage of that level that he's at. But I will say that most rewarding as a participant, body jam, as me, I love participating in body jam. I love dancing. As an instructor, to see how it changes
Yep.
the day of the person that comes in. And not that other programs don't do it, but I think it's just there's something special about that program. And I'm lucky that I have a right and a left foot so that I can teach it. Because if I had two left feet, and I probably would be a bit devastated, because it's an amazing program. I do love it.
I love the fact that it challenges you as well. Yeah, that it challenges it's not an easy thing to pick up. Yeah, you've got to sit back. It's like you're getting out of your comfort zone in order to go, right, I'm going to get this. I want to get this. And you've just said the reasons why. But I think for me, it was one of the things that I really enjoyed about with RPM and with Pump and CX when I was teaching, that they were each had their own challenge. Each had their own challenge of the way the choreo was. And with RPM, it got to that easy for me that I knew you listen to it and without really looking at the choreo notes, and you knew sort of where things were going. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. Once you've done it for that many years, you sort of find your rhythm. Same with Pump. When Mike McSweeney had Pump, it was pretty much the same each release. There was a bit changes, but you knew sort of it was a 3, 1, 2, 2, 4, whatever it was. You sort of knew what was going on. When Glenn came on and Glenn changed it a little bit, it was fantastic because it made us as instructors sit back and go, well, hang on, that's a bit different. Well, I have to remember that. I have to get in there and do it. So it's challenging us as instructors to get out there and do something different, and not just press autopilot and go, yeah, okay, we got this. We're going to get in there and smash it up. I think is at that stage when there was the changes that happened with all programs or most programs, when there was changes going and we're working out as an industry, okay, we've been doing this for 10 years. We need to change things up to try and attract the new generation of people coming through. At that stage, I think it gave us all as instructors an opportunity to step outside of our own comfort zones, to look at things very differently and how we're going to get that message across. It challenged me. So if it challenged me, it's got to challenge my participants.
Yes.
It's really got to push us out of that comfort zone. So it's interesting that I think programs have changed so much, and how different programs challenge us in different ways. And I like the fact that, Jam as a program that you're not a trainer presenter in is your favorite in that regards. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. And I think it'll be one of those two that I hope, I'll be a participant for Jam, as long as I can put a pair of shoes on and keep doing it. I know at some point my body will probably call it quits on attack or some, but, between, RPM and body jam and just having those classes that I think I can stick to for a while. And plus the music in body jam it's none other. You can put that music on any time of the day for me, and I'll just rock out. Like, I love it. I love it.
This is the Group X podcast.
How do you, I suppose, do you struggle is a question I'll ask. Do you struggle when the same track is used in different releases?
Oh yeah, it's getting worse now.
You're going to get up and rock out to.
It's getting, and the funny thing too is that I've started to convert, some of the body jammers, because on a Monday night I teach a pump and then followed that by a body jam, and I think I'm up to now 4 of the jammers are coming into the body pump beforehand.
Brilliant.
And I love it, but there are songs that, if we're launching, and sometimes they'll use the same song in multiple releases, and you'll be doing a squat track to something that in body jam, you're shaking your butt or whatever it is, and you're just like, yeah. And it's so funny because you can look out to the pumpers in the room. Where I was doing the new RPM track 7 Ecuador is no, sorry, not Ecuador, sorry, that was a body attack one. And I've just gone blank on the name, but it's used in body jam 78.
Yep.
And so I had one of the members that comes to both body jam and RPM. She's sitting in the front row, and I could see her doing the arm movements to body jam instead of she was still doing it, but it was just so funny. But yeah, the same sort of thing that, luckily, because I find that they use them quite differently, it's not, never, I'm like, oh, oops, I'm supposed to be doing lunges, and instead I'm doing turns. Like, it never gets that sort of confusing in that sense. And they'll remix them and they'll use them in a certain different way. The only problem is if it's a song that you really don't like, and then you have to hear it in every single program that you teach, you're like, oh gosh, when does this get over with? But no, thankfully it's kind of a laugh that the more programs that you teach, you realize that they're just using the same songs.
Yeah, look, I understand the reason why they have to do it as well, but it's for instructors, if we're teaching full time or close to full time, it can be definitely a struggle. You're like, oh really?
That and with how your brain switches when it hears a song. So when speaking of Ecuador, right? I remember that from Body Pump for lunges, and what a track that is. Still get requested to teach it all the time. But then it was in Body Attack as a track 9, so a big power track. And just the way that the tone and the way that I would teach it in using that same song in Body Pump had to be quite different than how I would teach it in Attack. So, it wasn't so much, the choreography that way, but it was more so the I guess the frame of mind that I would go into it when I would hear it.
Yep.
And the same thing when Body Jam gets used for a pump song, and if it's a big track in Body Jam where you bring out the emotions and you have to just shut up and dance, as they say in Body Jam. But then in Pump, it's like, be serious, be focused.
Yep.
Don't crack a joke, because this is Body Pump. Nobody wants to hear you talk unless you're saying down to, up to.
That was part of the reason why I stopped teaching Pump, because I couldn't get a rise out of everybody.
No, it's so hard.
I'm looking at them all, and no one's even smiling at me. It's like, okay, no, we're deadly serious here. This is weight training. We are serious. We will not smile. We will not crack a joke. We will not. No. Get on with it. Like, mate, when I was teaching RPM, I'd be the smart ass that'd be saying, turn to the person next to you and say, is that all you got? Righto. And just try and get engaged. Try and do that in Pump. Hell no. Only, no. This is the serious place. We cannot. Doesn't matter if it was the best track in the world. No, don't sing. It's just
I know. It is funny because I'll be like, oh, I love this track, and I get excited for it, and everyone's just kind of like stone face. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Tell me,
I do love Body Pump.
What happens when you get a song that you don't like?
This is actually, it's a really interesting thing, because I used to, just listen to it a few times, or, you'll get used to it, or they would, you hear kind of in the group chats and stuff, okay, we'll just do it for a couple of weeks, and then you never have to do it again. You can, if your class, you can choose not to do it, and you forget that, though. For some members, that might be one of their favorite tracks to do. And so it was actually at my initial module training for Shabam, where obviously, again, Shabam being a dance program, there is a lot with music. And fabulous trainer, Lou, who I know you've had on the show before, and she's just a very dear friend of mine, but she would say how she actually would Google or go online and look up the lyrics and the meaning and watch the music video. And I started doing that. And I use it in actually a lot of programs, not even for tracks that I don't like, But for tracks, if I'm having a hard time connecting to it, or I don't quite understand what I'm supposed to be feeling, or that sort of thing, is sometimes just going in and getting the backstory behind that track. That's why they wrote it. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it's just, who knows? But it does help me personally to connect more to music if it's not a banger and I'm just like, I don't press play and I'm like, I love it, it's my jam. But if it's one that has to grow on me, I will then start to see how it came to about, or go onto YouTube, put it in and see what music video comes up, or maybe there was another a cover of it, an interpretation of it. It's just something that gives me a different way to look at it, because there's going to be songs that I don't get on with, but I never want to let members know, because that might be their favorite song. And I've had it happen to me where an instructor's like, I hate this. And I'm like, what? That's my favorite. And you was like, it's a personal insult. And I know they don't mean it, but you do.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I've never heard of that before. And I think that's an awesome process to go through. Guys, if you hate a track, go watch it on YouTube. Go watch the music track. As you said, Google the lyrics, find out what it is, find out the meaning behind it all, so you can tap into that as you're teaching it, instead of just going, oh, that's shit, I'll play it once and never play it again. Oh, we did it at the launch, never doing it again. I think there's so many tracks. I mean, what RPM is about to hit 100?
Yes.
When you think of that, there's 100 track sevens. There's 100 tracks ones. There's 100 tracks of everything. If people aren't going back and, Les Mills say you should only go back and play the last 10. We all go back and play more than that, because we've got our favorites back there. Come on, let's be realistic. There are so many tracks that I'll say were shit back then, but I'm sure that if I went back and I looked at those tracks and I looked at the choreography and I looked at what the head program coaches or program directors now were trying to get through, what message they were trying to get through, or what the training was for those tracks, and you focus on that rather than whatever New Kids on the Block was singing, or whoever it But anyway, whoever it was that was singing the track, and look at it in a different way, or look at why, as you said, why the words were used, what words they chose for that song, what message they were getting across. Tap into that as you're teaching. I think that's brilliant. Thank you for bringing that up and sharing that.
And I'll just follow that up really quickly, because it was the same training, and it was about music. And again, this is what I try to remind myself, that everyone's going to listen to music or hear music differently, or it might bring back a memory. They might hear a song and they'd be like, this is where I was when that happened. And so Lou put on the Baywatch theme song, and the one that they're putting out beginning, they're slow motion running in their red swimsuits. And mind you, this was done, the training was in Australia, it was in Perth, and we had one or two really young instructors there, had no idea what Baywatch was. We had some other ones who, when Lou asked, well, what do you, and what does this bring about? What type of emotions? Just hearing the music, I'll be there, that sort of thing. And everyone's like just cheering, da, da, da. Tony, I kid you not, I was crying. And Lou was like, what is that? And I go, my dad and I, we used to watch Baywatch, or it would be on the TV if we were watching a program and the next one come on, right? Growing up in the US, it was on prime time. Yep. And I said, so I have a memory where, growing up, this song would play in the house, and I would be sitting next to my dad. We'd be watching TV, and I lost my dad when he passed away when I was 18. And so to me, that song, which brings so much perhaps like joy or cheesiness, or maybe someone's just thinking of like big blonde, big boobs sort of women running in slow motion, for me, makes me think of my dad. And it's just, it's an emotional thing. And so she taught me to find something in that track, in any track that you're given, that you can buy into, because for somebody else in that class, again, going back to, I'm not teaching this class anymore for me, which is what I used to do, but for others. And and I think it's a really, I think we all agree that music is so powerful. So when you can find something that gets you to it.
What's new in fitness? The Australian fitness industry news and commercial gym equipment suppliers website designed to provide fitness industry professionals with knowledge and information to make better informed business decisions. No, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing with the Baywatch song too.
I know.
Appreciate that. No, look, it's cool
free
because
for singing gigs anytime.
Yeah. we'll hold you to that. Someone out there that's going to go, hey, Krissy, can you, Saturday night, 9:30, we've got a spot. Love it. Couple of questions. Well, actually, this next one I want to go, have you got a favorite release in a program? Something that is where you go, you know what, that release is my all-time favorite for that program. If I ever, it's almost like your go-to.
So yeah, it definitely is dependent on the program. For Body Jam 74 specifically, second half of 74, and I think to any listener out there that does Body Jam or teaches Body Jam, they will know 74 is the most incredible. The second half is the most incredible, emotional. I actually did it. We did a fundraiser for one of the gyms a couple weeks ago for Lifeline, an amazing fundraiser. And I was fortunate enough, I got to teach the back half. And so they were asked, well, what do you want to teach? And I said, hands down, it's 74. Like there's no other emotion that will ever come out of somebody from that. And it's funny, I actually got, there was a video that was posted online and a couple people, what was that song? That was such an epic song, and to watch everyone dancing to it. And yeah, I was like, yeah, absolutely. And again, for different programs and different reasons, I think for, there's a couple for RPM that really get to me, but it's so hard to pick one that you'd be like, that is my go-to. I think I get drawn to the ones where watching the master class and the song and the performance, and it goes without saying, being in Perth now, and getting the fortune of having Lee Smith teach at the clubs, but I feel like I'm such a fangirl. But there are certain tracks. There's one, and I don't do it justice. I rarely will ever teach it, even though it's one of my favorite track 6. It's Drowning, the Avicii. But I rarely will do it because of how he does it, and I think I can't do it justice. When he goes from the interval track 5 to track 6, and when that comes on, and that sense that he brings to the class, and that it's just the most beautiful thing. But it is one of my favorite releases. There's just, I don't know, there's too many for that one.
No. And I appreciate what it shows is you love what you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like asking the question. I mean, for me, it was Pump 56, my training release, that to me was the absolute bee's knees of a release ever. The instructors, the masterclass filming, everything about it was, and I think it was obviously, as you mentioned about the Baywatch song as well, there's a certain time in your life and a certain place where everything sort of falls in when you look at it and remember it forever. Yeah. That's something for me in release 56 for Pump, that just, if I'm going to do something in the garage here at home or do something at home during lockdown, that was my go-to. Yeah, yes. Cool. It doesn't matter if I did it 3 days in a row. I don't care. I'm going to do it again. Yeah, I'm just going to hit play and go because everything just falls in line with that. For RPM, I think it was a mixture. There wasn't actually a release. It was individual tracks for me that I always went to, that were the tracks that I was known for. Boys of Summer, the Ataris, that kind of stuff. There were tracks that, this tone signature tracks on again, but it was just something that I managed to grab that track, grab that workout, and you'd watch it on the masterclass, but then you'd also watch other instructors do it. And I would deliver it so differently. Corey was exactly the same, but just the way you delivered, the energy and the words that you used to grab the participants and bring them on that journey for 5.5, 6 minutes, whatever it was. It's just special and unique. And I think that's where, for me, is always going to be those favorites that always stick out where you go,
yes. Yeah. And it's funny because, as you say that and you name off those tracks, and it just puts you back to the place right then and there. And where someone said, I need you to teach an RPM class in 10 minutes. Well, I could put together
Yes.
easily. Like there's just, and it's not because, someone said, oh, it's just riding a bike. It's because I know that I can deliver those tracks and I can do it
Yeah.
justice
Yeah.
as it should be done, because to me, they speak to me, and it just becomes a very emotional thing. Yeah.
No. Brilliant. A couple of questions I want to throw at you now. What do you love about group exercise?
Yeah, tough one, because again, so many things that I love, but I will say that group exercise has provided me with friendships and relationships, and essentially it's a second family. I moved, like I said, quite a bit in the US, and it was one of the first things I did every time I moved. And even moving over to Australia, I didn't know a single person. I didn't come over here with anyone, my dog. I didn't know anything. And it was going into to do a class, and then meeting with the GFM to see if I could start teaching in all those different states. And that created a family. And so when people say, did you find it hard to move here? No, to be honest, no, I didn't. And one, because I work at I've got amazing colleagues that I work with, but also I made it a point when I moved here and when I found out where I was going to live, because I was scared to death to drive on the other side of the road. So I was like, okay, I need a place where I need a gym that I need to live in a place where there's a gym that I can walk to or catch the bus to.
Yep.
And so that's what I would do, is I'd catch the bus, I'd go to the Inaloo gym, and that was immediately what I went to.
Yep.
Not sure, it was a workout, great, but it was, I created friendships and a family, and that was from the start. And I would say that 90% of my closest friendships have all come from group exercise. They start with being next to the same person a couple weeks in a row, having the same sort of spot, having little chatter back and forth. Let's grab a coffee. And now it's, we're friends for life. And even as I've moved from state to state or country to country, I still, I made a post that I finished with my sprint training, and my GFM in Boise, Idaho was like, oh, what training are you doing now? And that, this, that,
Awesome.
the other. And yeah, they're friendships that they don't go anywhere, because I think you've got a passion for something. And when you're in a community like that, it just grows, and you've got people there that are for you there every day of the week.
Interesting you say that, and I reflect on that just now. Everybody that's in my life, I've met since I started in 2003, in 2002 in the industry. It's almost like the life I had pre the fitness industry. While there's probably two or three mates that I worked with in telecommunications way back when that I'm still really good mates with, and we've been mates with each other for close to 25, 30 years, whatever it is. Most people that are in my circle of friends now have come from group exercise, come from the gym, come from either when I was doing PT in North Sydney or teaching classes throughout Sydney, and even then again when I moved to work for Les Mills in Canberra. There seems to be, the family just grows. Yeah, they don't. There's been a couple that have probably dropped off along the way that are instructors that I might not have gelled with, but most of them I'd say are I class as family. It is a community that, whether it's the people that you are teaching to or the people that you teach with, you've, as I said, you've blown my mind with that, because I'd never really thought of where my group of friends come from. And we are.
It's funny when I think about it.
It's massive. It is such a community thing. Yeah. Especially coming from a country, not here, coming from outside of Australia, to come here, and one that's daunting as it is, you don't know one. I can only imagine what it's like to drive on the other side of the road. Yeah. But coming in and then it's the best way to make friends, though, isn't it? Group exercise. You're walking into a group of people that are all doing the same stuff. Someone's going to say good day to you, no matter what. You sparks up a friendship from just saying hi. How are you? Yes. I think we're such a great community. It's not funny.
It really, and I'll tell you, one of the hardest things was as I mentioned before we started, that I had double jaw surgery, and it did change the structure of my face, obviously, getting that surgery. And the hardest thing, not having to sit out for 3 months, losing a lot of fitness. I lost a lot of weight, a lot of muscle, like that. That's tough. But mentally and emotionally, I went to the Q4 workshops, and it was actually the first time that I was supposed to be presenting. I'd just gotten on the team, so it was very exciting. But then, of course, surgery, and couldn't do it. But I wanted to go because the whole crew that I did boot camp with, those that made it, they were there, and I was so excited to see them. But I walk into this workshop again. I've been, living and teaching in Perth for 5 years at this point, so I was not a new face at all. But people who I would team teach with, people who I was doing, they'd be teaching the 9:30 pump. I'd be coming in to teach the 10:30 class after. I would see them on a day-to-day basis. People that I had long, known for the last 5 years didn't recognize me, didn't have any idea who I was. I was standing next to some people. They didn't even turn to say hi, because it wasn't that they were being rude. They had no idea who I was.
Wow.
And it was the hardest thing when people ask, well, what was the hardest thing about having surgery and that extent of a surgery? And I said, not being recognized. And when it was my community, when it was my family, that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't look that different. I saw myself through the whole process of it, right? So I knew. But I remember going into that workshop, and the only two people at that particular workshop who recognized me were, it was my program coach, Braden, because he had seen me on camera, and then Michael Chidley. And I just wanted to cry, because he came up to give me a hug. And I go, do you know who I am? He's like, of course I know who you are.
Yeah.
But I said, because I was sitting at a table and somebody introduced themselves to me. And it's like, I know we actually have been teaching in the same time slot, 9:30 to 10:30 for the last year. And she felt horrible. She just didn't recognize me. And I lost a lot of weight. My face had changed. There's still a lot of swelling. So like, it's no one's fault, but that was a really hard thing, because as we've said, that was my family. And it felt like something so drastic that I was like, nobody's going to know me anymore. And I'm going to go back to teaching. And I was so terrified to teach, not because I didn't think maybe my fitness was where it should be. I was afraid because of the way that I looked different, that nobody would recognize me, and it wouldn't be that family sort of, hey, good to see you back. Like, they didn't know who I was.
Can I ask what you had done? What?
Yeah. People were like, what
this beforehand, but I don't mean to pry, but what?
No,
what?
it's, yeah. So I was not lucky in the jaw formation, I guess, as growing up. So I had a very significant overbite and overjet, so that when my mouth closed, none of my teeth touched. And so growing up, I did speech therapy. I had 3 sets of braces to try to fix it, what they could. I've had, up until the surgery, the double jaw surgery, I had 2 previous surgeries to that, to try to get my teeth to align. It led to, I've from a very young age have had TMJ. I've had my jaw get stuck. It gets, headaches, because I will have to, when I would chew, when I would talk, I always had to bring my bottom jaw forward, like out of socket, to get it to meet with the top jaw. So anyway, I was supposed to, surgery had always been on the cards. I knew it was a big surgery, and it just wasn't something that I ever wanted to really do. I thought, if I could just get away with doing everything else possible without doing that. And then it just got to a point where I thought, you know what, if there's a time to do it, it's going to be now. I was in a good place. I thought, mentally, physically, and emotionally, that having a big surgery on your face, and having to be out and being in a hospital for a period of time, and being home for 6 weeks, like I couldn't work, period. I couldn't even work my 9-to-5 job. I couldn't be in the gym for about 3 months. But I was like, you know what, I'm in a good place. I guess I just didn't realize that the emotions that it plays when you to change your face.
Yeah.
You've had it for 37 years and then you decide to change it. And now I'm fine, everything's great. I've recovered and I'm fine,
Yeah.
and everything's good, but it's a tough one to overcome.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing that with us.
Yeah. And I think really anytime someone has to go through that or go through anything in life where you're going to have to make that decision that it could change the way that your day-to-day life is, and you weigh up the pros and cons. And I mean, even moving from America to Australia, I knew that was going to change a lot of things, but I think when you can get into the right frame of mind for it, it's going to have its ups and downs and bumps and bruises, but come out all right on the other side.
Yeah.
This is the Group X podcast.
True. Hey, on the opposite side of what you love about group exercise, what do you? I don't like the word hate because it's wrong. It's negative connotations. But what is it that you don't love about group exercise?
So I had a sneaking suspicion because I do listen to the podcast that this would come up, and I didn't want to try to guess what any of the questions were, but this one, again, like you said, because there is so much that I love about it, but also I think because there is so much emotion that goes into it. I've had this conversation before with people that it's exhausting, physically to be an instructor, emotionally, mentally. You're putting a show on, a performance on. We've talked about this before. It doesn't matter what day really you've had. You make it the best 30, 45, 60 minutes for them. So it's a tough job. And so obviously we love it so much that we keep doing that. So it is, you think, well, what do I not like about it? Because obviously I keep doing it. I'm still doing it. But one thing that I've noticed moving from the US to Australia, the fitness stuff is quite different, especially the group exercise and Les Mills particularly. I think also, I'm at the age where when I was doing sports and exercise and growing up, we didn't have Instagram, TikTok, all the other social media, Facebook. I remember when Facebook started, because it was only supposed to be for people who were in college. And I remember getting my Facebook, like that was me. I was, the original group getting that. And I would say one of the hard things about now, and I've had this talk before with people, is the pressure that we put on ourselves as instructors. And I think a lot of it does come from what gets put onto social media. And I struggle even to this day, and I'm so fortunate that I was chosen to be on the presenter team. But at the same time, I do think I lost some friends in that. And you see a side of people that may not be great, but a lot of it comes from that social, what's put online and what people think is this super glamorous side, or now, because I'm a presenter, I can do this, or I'll say this, or I'll wear this. And I know so many of the people that I'm just a huge fan of have said this before, but as a presenter, you might teach, 4 workshops a year. I mean, it comes down to what you're doing in your class. And so I do wish so much of what gets put online of, look what they're doing, and I get to go do this, and I'm doing, you show all the highlights of what group exercise is, but there can be some really low points. And I think that it deserves equal attention in that sense, that it makes things a bit more realistic, because I'll look at some people, I'm guilty of it. It's a horrible thing. And I know so many of us do it. We scroll through Instagram and we look at the photos and the videos. And at one point I had to just turn off and not follow anyone that was at Les Mills Live in Los Angeles, because I was like, I get it. You get to do all this, and you're going to Adidas, and you're getting all this free stuff. But at the same time, I know how hard they work to get there. And I know they funded themselves to get there. They paid for it. They took time off work. But it's just social media, even though I know that
Yep.
social media really messes with your mind. It really messes with
1000%.
your mind. And you
I
watch other instructors and you compare yourself to
Yep.
them. Or one thing that just irks me is when instructors will talk about how big their classes were.
Yeah.
50, 60, 70 people, and put that online. And I think, well, that's great, but why are you saying that? Is it to make me feel bad because my 5:45 a.m. body attack on a Friday is never going to get that big, but it's okay
Yep.
because the people that come there, they don't
Yep.
care about any of that stuff and they just want to go. But it is, and it's
No,
that really, it's hard. And I don't care
yeah.
how long I'm in the industry, I will still struggle with the comparisons that we make, and it's really
Social
hard.
media has a lot to answer for, a hell of a lot to answer for. And I think we could probably go down an entire season of podcast talking about it. But I think you're 100% right. I call it the doom scroll. Yeah. First thing in the morning, I've woken up, while I've gone to the bathroom or I'm having a cup of coffee or whatever it may be. I'll sit there and do the doom scroll. It's like, oh, I feel shit about myself. Oh, shit. Well, and you turn it off. Yeah.
Yes.
It's the evil that you need to have without needing to have it. Yep. For running Group X, yes, I've got to post stuff to get engagement. If I don't do it, then I'm not going to get followers, I'm not going to get listeners, I'm not going to get people engaged in what I'm doing. I will say though, most of the people that are posting on social media, and I'm probably going to get a whole lot of backlash from saying this, but I really don't care. It's have a look at the pictures that are being taken. That wasn't the first picture that was taken. Yeah. The angle, the lighting, the whatever it may be. There's probably 100 odd pictures that were taken before that. Why are they posting so much of that stuff about themselves? Is it, I don't think, as you said, I don't think it's about trying to make others feel bad, but I think it's about trying to make themselves feel better. If I do this, how many likes am I going to get? How many followers am I going to get? Oh my God, I've got to, no, that's where social media, I think, has really changed. But it also, for what that's done for the fitness industry, I don't think has been good.
Right. Yeah. I don't.
You go back to. I mean, I joined Facebook back in 2007. I don't know when it first came out, but I was dead against it for a long time. I popped up for a day and then I switched it off again, and I was like, nah, screw that. I don't want anything to do with it. Yeah, it was. I check in here. I had dinner here, or I'm feeling this, or whatever it was. The way back in the early days, it's changed so much now that my feed at the moment, my Facebook feed today, every second post or every probably 2 out of 3 posts was advertising. That's changed so much as well that it was, hang on a second, the algorithm's gone and all of a sudden I'm getting all this advertising. I'm not interested in it. I will post something, then get off it. Yeah. Dump and run, so to speak. Yeah. I put up a post to say, hey, there's a new podcast out, or hey, this is a new article, or whatever it may be. These guys over here are looking for instructors, or, this, whatever it may be. Then I get off. I don't want to sit there and engage with people in the comments. If people want to engage, let's have a face-to-face one-on-one conversation. I'm more happy to do this than I am an online war of words, so to speak. But I agree with you. I think that more instructors use it to promote your classes, use it to promote, I'm teaching here at this time slot, that kind of stuff, to help grow numbers for your classes. Because guys, if you're sitting back and you're whinging about not being paid enough, look at doing things in a different way to attract more members. Because if your club is seeing you do stuff different and your numbers are going up from what you're doing, you have the ammunition then to turn around to a club and say, hey, can I get paid a bit more? I'm actually bringing more members in here. Look at it differently. So use social media for that different aspect rather than, oh yeah, I had 60 people. Really? The class can only take 40. How'd you have 60? Oh, it was 40 and there were 20 people that were lined up outside that missed out. Oh, that's right. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's exercise and it's to be done in a group setting. So to make it a competition sort of thing, and I do think that social media has a lot to it. But I think I'll always, and I know a lot of people struggle with that, and it's a tough one.
Yeah,
I'm confident, but that will certainly knock you down.
Yeah. So, last question I'm going to throw at you.
Yes.
Yep. What does the future hold for you?
Well, hopefully not any more injuries. No. So, look, I'd love to say that, I'm going to slow down, but I'm not. I got 7 programs. I have my eye on another program, hopefully that'll get done in the next couple of weeks. I just love it. I'm addicted. I believe it was the podcast you and Joss had where you talked about, some say it's a cult. 100% it's a cult. And I'm drinking the juice. Yeah. I'm in it. I love it because I just love the way it makes me feel and everyone else feel. And so no, I don't see myself slowing down. I will continue to add programs on as long as my brain can handle the choreography and I can continue to teach it to the level that it needs to be taught. I strive, and to my mom, who I know she'll listen to this, I strive to find balance. I strive to find ways to say no. I'm too busy. I can't do it. So I will continue to look to find a bit of balance. I've got a full-time job and I love that job. I'm in academia. I'm a researcher. I'm a teacher. And I hope to continue to do that because I have a platform in my research where I can do research and studies that can ultimately help those that come to my class and those that are into exercise and into fitness, into health, into wellness. And that's kind of my area. So I hope to continue to merge the two together. I don't really do a good job of that right now. I kind of keep them very separate. Actually, just the other day, I was at a workshop or somewhere. One of the presenters like, I didn't know you had a PhD. So now she tags and posts and everything as Dr. Krissy Kendall. She's like, you're a doctor. I'm going to put that on everything. And I'm like, there's a reason why I don't tell people all of this. I like to two separate things, but I would like to merge them. And I know that Les Mills does quite a bit of research and they use different labs and universities. And who knows, maybe one day being in Australia and they come and they allow me to do some research with them, that would be pretty cool. That'd be a nice thing for the future. But no, keep doing what I'm doing. I just got my citizenship, so I'm not leaving Australia anytime soon.
Congrats.
So yeah, keep having fun here.
Brilliant. Krissy, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming and have a chat with me and allowing me to get to know you a little bit better, but share your story with everyone as well. Thank you so much.
This has been fun. Yeah, I enjoy it, Tony. Thank you.